That looks great. Where you at?
Oh, I'm here.
That looks great.
Thank you.
No problems?
No, I mean the what do you call them? The highlights with the gradient took me a second to get, but that's the only thing that took a second.
I love this this little area right here. That's really nice. I love this that it rolls over.
Mm-hmm.
Super
Thank you.
great. The only thing I'd say is grab your base.
Yeah, I forgot the shadow.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't know we
you
had.
know how to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. It
That
seems
looks
simple.
great. See how it's got a lot of dimension and everything to it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't have any comments on that. You guys are all packaging good. That looks great. Where you at? Who's this? Where's Emily?
I'm here.
No problems?
No, just the highlights took me a bit to figure out, but I think I got it eventually.
You understood that goes to zero, middle isn't zero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only trick to that. Used to be a pain in the ass to do that to have it fade off like that. It was actually kind of you had to make like a mask, and it was a big pain in the ass, and they fixed it. I don't know when they did it. That looks great. No question. And make sure you put your drop shadow on. You don't have to go back and do it, but you know how to do it, right?
Yeah, I do.
Just take your base color, squash it, give it a gray, whatever. Because I'm going to show you some shape building today. And what that's going to do between this line stuff, because you guys are getting this obviously very quickly. So between that and your this line stuff that we just did, you're going to me, that's the fundamental foundation. And then we can start building on it. This one, Josh?
Yeah.
Looks good. Any problems?
Same as everyone else, I think, with the highlights. It's just kind of.
But you got it where you learned how to use the opacity to go to zero?
Yeah.
Okay. That's my main thing with that. I just wanted you to know, I want you to know a couple of things, how to just click an option drag and make new points, and you can change them, and then fading them all the way to zero. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then put your drop shadow on there.
Okay.
But you don't have any problem with the drop shadow, right?
No.
Okay.
I just forgot to add it.
Yeah, that's fine. These are exercises, so I like burning through them. I mean, you guys, all the ones that I looked at looked great. I haven't gone through all of them yet. Oh yeah, great. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I did have a little trouble with the gradient, but I think it's because I have an older version of Photoshop. So
How old?
It's CS6.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
It's not a huge difference, but it just took a little playing around.
With the gradient to go to zero?
Just to like click it open and maneuver the things. Like if I wanted to double click on a color, it wouldn't open it.
Where are our gradients at in here?
I think it's the same thing. Oh shoot. It might be in transparency.
Oh, it's right here. This is a gradient here, right?
Gradient?
Gradient.
Yeah.
So that fades to zero?
The shadows, yes, but sometimes when I did it,
the gradient, does the gradient go to zero? Like it just goes to zero opacity?
That's what I set it to.
Oh, okay. Because it looks like it does. I just want to make sure that you understand how to do that, correct?
Yeah, it acted a little weird, but I think I got it.
Okay. This looks great.
Thanks.
It's fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
It trips me out because I was looking at him this morning and I go, we've only been in class a week. You know what I mean? And everybody's doing full renders and stuff. That is exciting because that means we're probably going to be able to cover quite a bit of stuff. Because to me, this and what I'm going to show you today, that's the basis of this software. So any questions? It looks great.
No, I think I got it.
You'll get monster fast with this really fast. Yeah. Okay, who's this? This is Ray?
That's mine, yeah.
Where are you at?
Right here. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you do it step by step.
I just like to save backups in case I mess up the first one.
Oh, yeah, that's me too. All right. Any problems?
No, no.
Looks great. Just put your drop shadow in. You don't have to go back and put the drop shadow in. I don't care about that.
Okay.
But just make sure that, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Oh, there. Wait, what's. Oh, okay. You got it locked off. Okay. All right. Make sure that we don't get these really hard gradients like that. See that? Where you at?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So,
And did you get, so these are fading, this here is fading to 0, right?
yeah.
The only thing I'd say is like do this. Let me unlock these. Is one thing that's going to help you here on these edges at least is to pull this in out a little. See, see how this is going outside the line?
Yeah.
So number one, I would probably pull it this way.
Okay.
And then I'd pull it inside the line so it fades out before it hits the and then these you can soften it up a little bit. This
Okay.
point up here. So make sure it goes inside the line, and then I just make the shape so it's not so hard. You know,
Okay.
I have it kind of follow the form a little bit. Okay. So
Okay.
you always want to kind of follow the form a little bit, and it'll help to push the idea of three-dimensionality.
Okay.
But you figured out that main thing I want you to do here is just know how to go to 0 opacity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Good. And you know how to do the drop shadow thing, right?
Yeah, I think I know what I did wrong.
You didn't
Yeah, I
do
have
anything
it up
wrong.
there. I just couldn't squash it.
Like this one is still a stock gray. See, I can see the gray.
Oh yeah.
So that needs to go wherever that is. This needs to go to white and then to 0 opacity. And then again, let's see. That's pretty good. Pull this one in. Make sure it's at 0. Yep, it's at 0. It's at 0. And now they're fading off before they get to the edge.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
And then I would take this guy. Oops. Oh, well. I would take that gray one you had, pull it down and squash it and make a drop shadow.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on with these gradients? Or this should be a gradient, right?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to do the gradient.
Okay, so let's
properly.
go over it real quick. So we're going to go to our gradient tool right here. Let me pull this over. Otherwise, this stuff's going to go out of frame. There. We got our thing here. And I'm going to go to my swatches right here. It always does this. Hang on. It drops my print thing for some reason. So we're going to go up here to window, because I'm going to pull back up my and you go past swatches. That's just your stock one. And I don't know why it does this. I'm going to go to swatch libraries. I'm going to go up to default, and I'm just going to go to print. Now I got a print one. I'm going to put it right here. Oh, actually, I'm going to put it above this. I'm going to go to print, and then right here, there's a stock. This is how I do it. I just use the stock gradient thing. So it's right here. And then now it's applied that gradient to it, but now I got to go. I don't want it to go that way. I want to drag it like that. And then here's a white point. I'm going to pull that inside of my shape. And then here's the black. I want to double click that and change that to white. And then I'm going to option, and you can option drag just about anything, and it'll create a copy. So I'm going to go option drag, right in the center here. Oops. And I'm going to go, now I'm going to double click this. And right here where it says opacity, go to 0. And right here, pull this inside the shape, double click it, and go to 0. And now it just fades off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that bar is just showing where all your color points are. You can move them around. The one up on top, the little points, you can move around the softness of it. But then you just double click it and you can have the 2 on the outer part go to 0 and the center part sort of a highlight. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Try it over the weekend or whatever. And then when you come back on Monday, I just want to double check and make sure you got it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Other than that, it looks fine.
All right. Thank you.
You didn't have any trouble with the shadows or any of that?
No, I got
Okay,
the
good.
shadows down.
Ooh, nice. Okay, good. Well, it doesn't look like you had any problems. No?
No, I just did have a question regarding the gradient map. Is there a
Yeah.
way to bend it, or is it always a straight line?
For the gradient annotator thing?
Yes.
No, but I'm going to show you something next week that'll do that.
Oh, sweet.
Okay. I'll show you something. Actually, I would have showed you today, but I totally forgot about it. And I want to show you something else. It's super simple. I'll show you next week. You know what? Let me write that down. I'll show you one where you can really dial in a pretty complex gradient. Okay.
Ooh,
Without using the stupid gradient mesh tool, which that's great if you want to get all, I don't like that tool that much. Again, having said that, you guys might. I'll show you how to use it, but there's another one that I actually think, unless you're going to go psycho, like with that stuff I showed you where it's photorealistic, unless you're going to do something like that, I think this one I'm going to show you is actually works fine.
I was tempted to use it, but then I got completely confused.
On
the
gradient mesh?
Yeah.
I'll show you a better way to do that. I'll also show you the gradient mesh, but I'll show you one next week because it literally will take me 15 minutes to show you,
Oh,
or
sweet.
10 minutes to show you. Okay, so we're all good on that, right? It always trips me out. It's just like that you guys get it so fast. I don't know if I've ever had it where everybody turns one in, doesn't really have any problems, but. Okay, so let's look. I just want to show you what I was talking about on Monday. Which, remember I talked about style guides? Yeah. So when, and this relates back to Illustrator, by the way. What just happened? Oh. So when you work on a project, you will get something called a style guide. Okay. And it could be, let me stop my share. I'm not sharing. Am I sharing? Oh, I am. Hang on. I'll pull that back up in a minute. When you start a project, it'll usually give you a style guide. Now, okay, so the ones I'm going to show you right now, I got in a big chunk when I was working on some toy products. So I was designing a toy product, right? What these are usually for is you're creating packaging, you're creating lifestyle branding, you're creating posters, banners, you're creating lifestyle banners inside a Target. Like you ever gone to Target and they have those big, actually I used to do a lot at Sears and they, you know, places like that where they have the big Mickey or Disney branded product, and there'd be a big lifestyle banner over it with a family running on the beach wearing their branded stuff. But in this case, we're talking about vector. Okay. So you'll get these style guide things and it'll be all these assets. Okay. They love to do them in Illustrator. Okay. Cause it's very flexible. Also, if they give that style guide to me, and it's vector, number one, you can just tear it apart and do a million things with it. And then at the end of it, at some point, it might have suggestions on doing packaging. It might have suggestions on doing different types of branding. They gave them to me just because it's like, because it's really not, I mean, it really wasn't what I needed, to be honest with you. It gave me some information, but I'm like, I'm not doing graphic design here. I'm doing product design, but it's better than nothing, right? So they just go, here's a whole bunch of stuff so you can at least get an idea of what the brand is or whatever. What they should have been giving me is different stuff, but whatever. And then you can mix and match those things. And at the end of it, it'll give you all these suggestions on how to use them, how not to use them. And then if you're a graphic designer, I mean, that's also for graphic designers and illustrators or whatever. And then and Starbucks will have them, and Starbucks will send you, Starbucks actually spends a lot of time. I got to find a Starbucks one so I can show you guys this. At the beginning of the Starbucks branding guide for that season, they'll have a paragraph of copy that will say, this season is Winter Wonderland and Winter in Vermont. They have some concept that they started with, okay, which is good. And they're sort of giving you their outlook of how they approach this design season. Does that make sense? And then they will give you some illustrations if that's what they have, and Starbucks usually does. That's better. They'll give you patterns, they'll give you logos, they'll give you what are called logo lockups, where it'll be the Starbucks, that mermaid thing, and then the logo, and that's called a lockup. And they're going, okay, these live together. Here's the Starbucks logo, word logo on its own. When you put it vertically, it has to be 1/4 inch away from anything else. You know, it's all these guides, right? And they'll give you patterns, and they go, don't ever put this illustration on this pattern, only use it with this. And within those parameters, you can create what you want to create. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's a couple. I just want to show you what they look like because I think it's valuable. And it makes sense in a vector class because most of the stuff's vector. So I don't know why I have this. So let's just run through a few of them. So here's Alice. I don't know why I had Alice in Wonderland. I don't think I was working on anything for that. Okay, so look, Nordic Summer Design Supplement. These are designed for, like these are all probably outdated now. They got to be because these are 4 years old. But they'll go, okay, so Nordic Summer. So this is probably summer product, summer, or it's how do we do Frozen in the summer because it's not winter. So we have to make a design solution for how that works off season. Does that make sense? So they sort of set, and I'll go through a couple of them in a minute. Foundation guide, that's exactly what it says.
Mike, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, sorry. God, you guys didn't tell me that. I just went to 2 things. I blame Kayla. There. Now you can see it, right? Thanks a lot, Kayla. All right, so there's Alice in Wonderland, right? Here's what I was just saying about the Nordic Summer, right? For Frozen. Foundation guide, probably is just what it says. Very basic Mickey Mini guide. Yeah, I don't know why I have all these Alice in Wonderland. Maybe I was going to do that. I can't remember now, but who knows? Or maybe I did do Alice in Wonderland. I don't remember. Here's another one. Magic of the Northern Lights Volume 2. So these are all style guides. And then what'll happen is sometimes they'll send you a style guide. And this is really annoying, by the way. You start designing stuff and they sent you the style guide. Then you start submitting stuff for approval and they go, this is when you're working out of house. They'll go, oh, that's the style guide from last year. You shouldn't use that style guide. And you're like, you sent me this style guide. But it's a giant company. So like so-and-so doesn't know. So I'm just telling you this stuff up front. So when somebody still sends you a style guide, because you might be doing freelance or what, I was doing this job freelance. Then go, so this is the current style guide. I can use these, this direction or whatever. I can use this direction, correct? Ask them, okay? Because it's really weird about assets, okay? And you want to make sure you're getting the right ones. I don't know what this is. Heartstrong. So this is probably all the Disney princesses in some sort of badass format or something. Beauty and the Beast style guide. Different style guide. Magic of the Northern Lights. Do you see how each one has a theme? It's the same movie, but, or, you know, different movies, but the movie has all these different themes. Okay. Is in relation to style guides. And then another thing you might notice is, like, look at the characters now. They've been vectorized. Have you seen that? Can you see that? And they've been slightly revised to work that way. Okay, does that make sense? And part of the reason they create these style guides is they, for the most part, don't want anybody creating this shit because they know they're not going to do it right. Okay? So they're controlling their brand. Now, this is a really good example of one that's been really vectored up, right? So they'll change the style a little bit, you know, maybe for a season or whatever. Okay. A lot of Frozen product, obviously. There's another good example of it being vectored. So let's look at this one. So what they usually do is they'll send you all these assets in vector, and then they'll give you this PDF just as an overview. So let's look at this. So here's your index. Okay, so here you go. Rapunzel is about to assume the role as Princess of Corona, but after a lifetime stuck in a tower, she begins to... When she discovers her connection to the bigger destiny, Rapunzel postpones her duties as princess. Okay, so that's just giving you a synopsis of the story. Okay, sometimes it'll give you a synopsis of what this guide's for, or the point of view of this particular guide, or the point of view of the product they're trying to create. Okay. Target audience. This is super important. 6 to 8 girls. Okay. Positioning. Rapunzel, the effervescent barefoot princess with the magical blonde hair, is back, saving her kingdom from mysterious black rocks. On her journey, self-discovery picks up where the movie left off. Okay. Franchise driver, the barefoot princess, fresh lens on classic. Okay. On the classic take on it. Mystery of the Rocks. I don't know what that is. Magical hair. So that's what they're driving. That's the marketing people go, this is what drives the franchise. Oops. And then attributes. There is more in you plus whatever. Finding more about yourself. Creative, curious, adventurous spirit. Does that make sense when you get this as a designer, what that means? This stuff's important. Okay. Because this is their point of view on this. Okay. Then it goes into, here's our product lineup or our character lineup, and it's been vectored. Do you see that? Why has it been vectored? Because then if I go, I'm making something for Target, and I want to put in our Disney aisle, maybe we're making a big Tangled statement. I want to put up a big lifestyle thing using these assets. I don't have to go back to them and go, hey, I need a higher res image to do this. These are resolution independent, correct? So I can make them this big, or I can make them 40 feet big. In other words, I'm not going to go bothering Disney every 5 minutes to get more assets. Okay. These are your color calls. These are PMS colors. Does everybody in here know what that is? Okay. So let's look at this real quick. Now, I'll get into this a little more later, but I'll just give you a real quick one. So remember I just said I had to go in and open up my, my swatches to get this print guide or this print swatch palette. If I go down here again and I go swatch libraries and I go color books, there's all these color books in here that don't mean anything, to be honest. The one that everybody uses, the Pantone matching system, which is PMS. What the Pantone matching system does, and I'll open the thing. So let's just go to coded, CMYK. Actually, I want to go to solid coded. And here's my palette. So let's pull this over here. There's my palette. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. This one. Let me put this one back. Let me pull this over so I don't lose anything. And here's my palette. Okay. So when I click on one of these, see that number where it says Pantone 124C? That means Pantone, that color, that's the color. And then the C means coded. which you can do coded or uncoded, and that's for packaging and stuff like that. But so the value of this is if I pick, just like they're doing in this style guide, let's pull that back up. Here's your and they're using a different Pantone palette. Oh no, they're not. It's 2085C, blah, blah, blah. That Pantone 129C, this hair color, Pantone 129C is the same in China, is the same in Australia, is the same in Japan, is the same at every single factory that's using the Pantone system. Does that make sense? Because if I try to, and I've done this, when I'm using things that don't have a Pantone matching system, and I'm designing product and it's being manufactured in China, like almost all product is, try and convey color information to a factory in China. Like, hey, you know what, that yellow is a little cool. And I'm sitting in a conference room with some employee I pulled that speaks Cantonese or Mandarin, and I'm trying to translate very complex ideas about color to the other side of the world with a different cultural perspective. And I'm going, it's a little too cool. And they're like, what do you mean it's cool? Yellow is cool. Well, it's like a little bit green. What? They just don't get it. Does that make sense? It's a hard thing to do if you're not a designer to understand what I'm saying. If I, and to not have a point of reference means then I'm going to get my prototype 2 weeks later and it's wildly off. And I go, shit, now I'm a month behind, or now I'm a week behind my schedule. And now I got to get this information translation. I jump on a plane, I go to China, and I just go there and go, that isn't right. And I fix it there. You don't want to have to do that. Okay. And that the PMS system prevents you from doing that. That is a global.
Have you done that though?
Huh?
Have you done that? Gone in a plane and gone to China?
Yeah. Well, what we usually do is we do it once or twice every season for that reason. Like to go over and comment on sculpting, to go over and find new vendors, to go over and see capabilities presentations by new factories, to make color comments, so on and so forth. Does that make sense? And yes, sometimes, or sometimes like I was doing the Wall-E presentation and I just sent my team over. I sent a couple people from the team over and I go, you guys got to go over to China, handle that. I can't do it. I got to do this. However it works, right? Okay, so there's your color information, right? The other beautiful thing about Illustrator is when they click a color in there and it's a PMS color, they click it, it pops up, it tells them what color it is, right? Does that make sense? They love that, by the way. Factories love vector, okay? So here's your stand, here's all your call outs. And then look, they're doing it. Here's 12 color call outs, which you would never do, by the way. Here's 10 color call outs, which you would never do, by the way. The only way that makes sense is if I was doing like toy product. And this is giving me, these would be called deco. It's a deco hit, right? So if I go, like the product might come back and they go, you got 12 color call outs on that. And each one costs something, right? Every color costs something. Every color is it's just called an operation in a product, right? Not in printing, that's different. So then they might go, can you knock a couple of those out? And I might run back here and go, oh shit, they already have it knocked out. So then I just send them this paint plan, right? And then they come back and they go, can you knock a couple more out? Then I got 8. And then they go, okay, now you're hitting your price point. Good. Or they might come back and go, can you just do it with 5? Then I got to start really making decisions on my own about it. Does that make sense? Okay, so here this right now, these are just various color call outs. Very vector. What are you gonna say, Josh?
Are the color call outs always even, or was that just a coincidence on all these?
What do you mean even?
It's
The
like-
number?
Yeah, like 12 of
No.
them, 10.
No, not that I've ever noticed, by the way. That's a weird
Okay.
thing to know. I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't think so though. And by the way, look at this line. See how they're just doing a darker value of darker value of the color, right? That's a very useful rendering technique, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. So it doesn't have that black outline around it. It softens it up a little bit. Does that make sense? You will see that if you go down the the cereal aisle, almost everything uses that technique. Only they do like an airbrush soft thing, and then they outline it. And if they're wearing red pants, it's a darker red. If it's a skin tone, it'll go to sort of a little burnt sienna, like that kind of thing. Okay. It contains it without it having a hard black line around it. Okay. The adventurous spirit. This is more telling you marketing information inspired by Rapunzel's journal, painting, and writing. This design set captures the spirit of her world and her many adventures, targeting girls 6 to 8. Design is quirky and fanciful, yet sophisticated. A bright palette, brush style icons, watercolor washes, handwritten editorial combined with series-inspired character art to create unique vision, story-rich designs. You need to read this stuff when you get it. Okay. And by the way, half the time you'll do exactly that, and they'll go, well, what'd you do that for? It's like, it's in your style guide. You know what I mean? And don't even have that argument, you know, but read this stuff, because you do want to know from a design perspective, what are they trying to achieve here? You know what I mean? What am I, yeah, I can look at this work, but I want to know behind it, because I have to create out of it. I have to know the ideas behind it. Does that make sense? It's just, you know, your research. Okay. And then you start getting into more scene oriented stuff. Look at these nice washes. There's their watercolor washes. I'll show you how to do that later. You'll basically know how to do this by next week. Okay. Now, some of the fancier stuff, you'll know how to do that 2 weeks from now, but I mean, it's not hard. Okay. So here's some stuff. Here's some different fun variations of it. Here's patterns. They'll give you a bunch of patterns. And by the way, I might go into this pattern and start, and they probably already did it. I might start pulling out these little elements because it's so easy to do in Illustrator, right? Like I might go, oh, I want to use this to create a border, but then you go, oh, they already pulled out all the icons. There it is, right? So there's all the stuff that's within these things now pulled out as icons. Does that make sense? And then here's more of them. Here's just, I think, hair information. Another one. Another one. And then let's go.
Now, are you using those assets they give you to create your own, you know, design? Or are you basing that off as reference and creating that character, but doing a brand new drawing? Or
No, you don't want, they're not going to want you to draw this.
Okay.
You can almost forget that. And what they have is they have an army of people over DCP, over Disney Consumer Products, which is over next to Imagineering in Burbank. And they're called character artists, and the character artists create all this stuff. Like I had 2 character artists on my team at Disney Store. So when I wanted Mickey in some crazy pose or whatever, I went to them, right? Because it's a very specific skill set that it doesn't mean you can't do it, but they usually put their character artists through a training program. And just like, I think I've said this before, I hated drawing those characters on model. And for the most part, I never had to, because I was on the, you know, creative side and all that. But once or twice I stepped in to help out because we didn't have anybody do it. And I absolutely hated it. And everybody go, why is this a big deal to you? You can draw your ass off. So what's a big deal? And I go, because that's a different thing. I go, I need to sit down for a week or two, probably 2 weeks, and just get used to drawing the characters. And also, to me, it's an animator's game. So like the guy on my team that I had do it was a character artist. He was an animator. The guy in the home department who was the character artist was an animator. You know, so on and so forth. You hire animators because that's their game, is moving things around on model. Does that make sense? And yeah, you could do it. But Disney, if you're an outside vendor and you go, hey, I'm going to ignore the style guide, I'm going to draw whatever, this Pascal and some other pose, they're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? That's off model and you're wasting time. We gave you a style guide. Use the style guide. Does that make sense? In that context, okay? If you're in-house, somebody might say, hey man, can you take a pass of that? You know what I mean? That's different. Okay. Like my boss came to me in Imagineering and goes, we don't have an animator right now. Can you just do it's the stuff that's in the off the page, the gift shop, or whatever the hell you call it, when you come out of the animation attraction. if you look up, there's these pages and the characters are coming off the pages. It was that stuff, right? Like Ariel's coming off a page, and I can't remember the other ones. Okay, so, and that's why they're giving you like this. They're giving you these poses, right? So then you get some options. Now, how you use these things, you might take that pose, take something out of another background, pop it on there and wrap that around your illustration for your package design. You know, how you use them that's your business, right? I mean, they have to approve it, but you know, you put it out there, you know, in different variations. Okay, now, this is one of the things. These are probably not vector. These are they might be, but I can't see them close enough. I have some in here I want to show you though. So they give you these. Here it is. This is vector more than likely. Hang on. And what I was going to say is in here, once you start getting comfortable, you know, you might want to put something like that together where it feels like a nice background thing and you put together in a vector way and you can get a very specific look that way. Does that make sense? This is not hard to do once you get this down. It's not that hard to do, okay? You just got to start with a good drawing. But I love these things. I think they're cool. This right here, I'll show you how to do that with the symbol tool. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then there's that. Just look at like one more. And then it has all this stuff. These you could use, like where it says, keep calm and grab your frying pan, lay down. I could use those quotes with my, whatever I'm creating. So that's what they're giving you is all this, look, friends till the end, in real, and then they'll usually, let's see if they have it here. Oh, they'll usually give you, well, it depends. They'll usually give you at the end, they'll give you suggestion, or they'll either tell you we like these typefaces, or they'll suggest typefaces, or sometimes they'll show a recommended use of packaging and a recommended not way to do packaging. You know, it's just to help you create stuff on brand for them. Does that make sense? And
It all sounds like a fancy sticker book to me.
No, because there's a lot of there's way too much thought about it and way too much design behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So no, it's absolutely nothing like that, because you're not just going in and screwing around with it. You got to go in and but in the sense that you get a sheet, sort of the idea you get a sheet of all these different things, sort of, yeah. Let me see if I can find one that's interesting. Princess Forever. Let's go to this. Hang on. See, I don't like this art at all. It's too airbrushy. Well, so now it's vector. That's vector. So they just use the front for that. And here's all your assets. This is cool. This little bird right here. There's one in here. Hang on. Let's go to this one real quick. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this one's telling you what it is, that Mickey's classic, Mickey and Minnie, they work across all these, you know, from kids to tweens, teens to adults. Mickey Mouse, Walt Disney Company's #1 character and leading franchise. In this new Mickey and Friends Foundation guide for 2015, right? So this is outdated. You wouldn't use this anymore. For what I was doing, it actually would have been fine. Because it just gives me Mickey reference. That's all I need. Based on his appearance, and they're telling you, they based this guide on his appearance from Sorcerer Mickey. He's 3 heads tall, slightly smaller hands and feet. You'll also find 3 new mini models. Now, this feels a little more like you would give this to somebody who might be creating character art. Does that make sense? Actually, it does feel like that. And then here's your vector version of Mickey, and here's your Mickey colors, right? So these are all your classic Mickey colors. Those probably don't change a whole lot. Minnie. Then you've got vector versions of the characters. Trademarks and fonts, the words and phrases. And in here, it's probably got a suggestion. Usually it'll show you. And so on and so forth. Does that make sense? And then sometimes they throw this at you because it's just a big handful of crap they can throw at you. And I'm like, gives me some reference, but like I can't really base the Rapunzel stuff I was doing off of this Rapunzel guide because it's already stylized away from the movie. And I'm kind of restylizing it again. So I'm going to go back to the movie and sort of base my stylization on the movie, my new stylization, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense? Right? Because I was doing hard goods toy product. I wasn't doing print. Okay. Okay. Does that all make sense? Okay. Okay. I want to talk about shape building now, non-line. Okay. Does that make sense? So we've talked about the line tool. We talked about building some basic shapes, line and fill. So now we're just going to get rid of the line for the most part and talk about how we build shapes, okay, and how we manipulate shapes. So let's go. Let's open this up. Is there any questions on the style guide thing? Okay. So I'm going to get rid of okay, here's the other thing. And I'll talk about this more later. If you go in and you're creating, something original or whatever, and you go in and because sometimes I do this, I'll go use the Pantone book because it has some nice color, sort of pre-mixed color, whatever you want to call it. Don't ever give that to anybody as the print ready file. Okay. And I had somebody do this to me one time. And so they gave me something, I think it had 27 spot colors in it. Okay. What that means is the normal printing process, if you're doing let's say something with photography in it, usually you're printing 4-color process, which means cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay. And out of those 4 colors, and I'll show you how they do this later, they create a continuous tone image. It looks like a photograph or whatever, or an illustration or whatever. Now, sometimes somebody will go, we're doing a really limited budget. Can we do 2 colors or 3 colors? Then you use Pantone colors. Does that make sense? And what that does is, so you'd have to reduce your design way down. So maybe it has you see it all the time, like in old children's books where they'd have like kind of an orangey red color. And then maybe like a cyan blue and then black. So it was 3 colors, right? So when I call out a Pantone color, it generates a plate. Okay. So 4-color process generates a yellow plate, a magenta plate, a black plate, and a yellow plate. Okay. If I add anything into that, it's called a spot color, and they're going to create a new plate. Okay. For just that color. And that's your Pantone color. Does that make sense? If I picked all my colors out of this, which is fine, but I just have to convert them to CMYK before I send them. Then what you're telling the printer is, okay, I want to do 4-color process plus 27 plates, which is totally insane. Like nobody would ever do that. Okay. What you will do is you will do your 4-color process packaging, and then you will generate 1 plate to do the exact spot color. Let's say it's PMS 42, which is whatever it is this Pantone green, right? Pantone's usually going to want you to do that because they want their branding to stay consistent. So there's no question about that. It's that color. It gets its own plate, so they don't have to try and mix it with the CMYK, which they're never going to get. Does that make sense? Or I'll give you another example. You're creating Easter packaging. Easter packaging, if you've ever noticed, has a lot of neon. Have you ever noticed that? Like it has neon pink and neon green and neon yellow, right? That cannot happen in CMYK. They can't mix a neon. It's a weird, whatever that is. It's a weird ink. So if you want to get that neon pink in the logo, you've got to generate a plate just for that special mixed ink. Does that make sense? Okay, because I think I told you guys this. I had a freelancer one time do a job for me, and I don't like using freelancers, but my team was really busy. So that's the only value of a freelancer to me, is it's a release valve. I can take that pressure off my team. Does that make sense? And they sent me a print ready file that had 27 spot colors in it. Okay. And I called them up and I go, because I would go over before I sent it off to the press, I'd go over it with a fine tooth comb, and I saw that as a red flag. And I called them up and I go, why does this have 27 spot colors in it? And they didn't know. They didn't know what they were doing on the print side. I think I told you guys this. This is why you need to go to print technology and understand the printing process. And I go, and I paid them, which I really shouldn't have, but I go, I'll never hire you again. And I go, and I'm not telling you this to be mean. And I told them this, and I didn't teach at Fullerton or anything. I go over to Fullerton. They have a print technology department. I'm doing you a favor. I go, because you will not have a career. You will sabotage every relationship you have, because you just told me you don't know what you're doing. And now I have to go back and fix this whole file, which is actually more work than me just doing it myself. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because now I'm going, what else is wrong with this file? Because files have to be set up very specifically for press. Okay. It's not like hitting print on your computer. It's nothing like that. Okay. It's much more complex. And you need to understand that, especially if you're a graphic designer, because you're going to be dealing with print a lot. And you need to know how to do that, because it makes you much more valuable than every, average Joe out there who doesn't understand any of that stuff. Does that make sense? And I'll get more into it as we go. I'm not going to go clear down the rabbit hole of that, because that's print technology, but I'll try and relate it a little bit. Okay. So let's get rid of this. And I'm going to dump in, I'm going to go to file. I'm going to use this to do the demo, right? I always use this one. I'm going to go to file place, go to desktop. Okay, so we've got this in here just like we did. So I'm going to do it just like we did the ink. So here it is. I'm going to lock it, create a new layer, and this is the layer I'm going to work on. Does that make sense? So here's what we're going to do. Now we're going to start going, instead of our line tool, we're going to go right here to our Pathfinder palette, okay? Which, like all our palettes, lives under Windows right there. And I'm going to show you how I build this real quick. So I'm going to take this shape. I'm just going to go all the way down here. And notice I don't care about the hair part. Oops, I'm going to go a little bit. And I usually just pull it over here and I build it like this. So I'm going to go shift and pull it over here. I'm going to get rid of this line. I don't need any line. That's good enough. Then I'm going to go, well, I think I'll go just like this. I want to build that ear. And it takes you a little while to know what you got to break up, but it won't take that long. And I think I'm just going to try it like that. Then I'm going to pull this over here. And now I'm going to go for both of these things. I'm going to go pink and get that Conan pasty flesh tone. And then I'm going to go, let's go here. And I'm going to go down this little shadow value. I'm clicking off. I'm going to reconnect it here. And I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go here. And now watch, I'm going to go all the way out like this. Okay. Oops. There. Oops. Let me connect that. Hang on. Hang on a sec. I want to line this back up a little bit. Make sure this is on top. So right here, object, come forward. Is he getting my right edge? Oh, I know what it is. There it is. Okay, see that this section inside? That's what I want, okay? And if you notice, I pulled a copy of this. I didn't pull the original. I pulled a copy because I want to keep that. And I'm going to go over here to my Pathfinder. I wish I could make this bigger, but if you look right here, let's pull this over. If you look right there, what does that show? The intersection. Do you see that? So I'm going to click that, and now I can just pull this over, and I got my shadow value. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Josh. Okay, so let's go. Now let's go. I'm going to grab this real quick. I'm going to actually pull this down more. I'm going to pull that. I'm going to pull this over here. Put it behind because it's behind there, which I did up here in my object. And then I'm going to go, let's grab this. Let's make this shape. Now I could do this with my width tool, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make the shape. And then I'm just going to take my round tool right here and create this. I'm going to take my rotate tool right here and turn it a little bit. Close enough. Then I want to change it to black. Okay, and then, you know, let's just combine it. Actually, I don't want to do that yet. Now I'm going to go right here to where my rotate tool is, and there's a reflect tool, and I'm going to click right in the middle because that'll place the anchor. I'm going to hold Option, drag it over, and now I got the other eye. And that's why I didn't combine them, because I need to move this one over here. Let's pull this over here. You cut it off right there. That's interesting. And then this one actually tilts the other way. Now I'll just take both of these. And I'll make this one. Now I could use the line tool here again. I could just go get rid of this fill, turn it into a line, zoom in on it, grab my width tool, oops, and pull it up like that. I could make it that way. Then I can come over here and go bink. And then look, it's always going to fill it. So I'm just going to pull that forward, pull this forward, and then get rid of the fill. Oh, I lost my line. Hang on. That's good enough. Then I'm going to go. And by the way, one of the reasons that I pulled this over with the, keeping it constrained with the shift when I pull it over. So now everything that I pull over, I shift, and it's going to land basically where it should. Does that make sense? Okay. And then let's do the hair because it's very important. Do you guys still see how this is cut paper? I mean, this is totally cut paper. Okay. Oops. Let me give this a different color so I can see it better. See if I can make this curve. Too severe, I can't do it. I got to do it halfway. 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 Then I got to get my handle and fix this one. It's really hard to see that. I'm going to turn off this background. I'm going to lighten this up because I just can't see it right now. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. Hang on. because I can't see that handle. Why is it? Hang on. Oh, I see. Keeps going to the other layer for some reason. It's weird. Hang on. I'll do it this way. We'll dim images to 10. There, that's better. And now I should be able to go here and see what I'm doing. Okay, then go back to here. You can change those in preferences, but I don't want to do it just for one thing like that. And I'm going to take this down right across there because I know the ear is going to cover it a little bit.
How'd you dim the image again? Or what'd
You
do?
go to, you double click on the bar right here. Let me pull this
Okay.
up. It picks it up on screen. And then right here it says dim images to.
Oh, okay.
Then you click it and you can put in the percentage.
Okay.
So I'm going to click this again because now I don't need it again. I'm going to get rid of it. And it's close enough. So now I'm going to pull this right there and go boom. And see how quick we're getting that image? Yeah. Now here, let's do this real quick. Let's go here. I'm going to go click. And I'm going to go, I don't even care about any of this. I'm going to move this over. Oops. I got to lock off this layer. I might be on that layer on accident. No. Okay. Then shift and pull it over. It's a little off, but that's okay. Actually, I think this could just move over. It should be over both of them. Let's move it over a little bit. And I could build it right on top of it, but it's not that big a deal. Then I'm going to go again here. I'm going to go again. I could make this with, I could make that with my width tool, but I'm just going to make it but with a shape. Oops. I don't want that. Boom. Boom. And then boom. And then again, what are we going to do? We're going to go fill it. I'm going to go right here to reflect. I'll put the anchor point right there because that's where it needs to rotate around. Oops. Let me get it with the black arrow tool. There it is. Hold shift. Oops. Hold shift, move it over. It's right there. Same thing here. This I could just do in one shape. And then, okay, so let's do this real quick. Now this I can just pull straight across because it's going behind a bunch of stuff. And then I'm going to go right in here. How do I do this? I want to go right here. And again, I want to get rid of this fill. I can't see what I'm doing. And I've lost the bottom of it, but I don't care. Hang on. Oops. I want to do the same thing up here. And that's good enough for now. Then I'm going to go here. Now this has to go behind everything. So I'm going to go object, arrange, send to back, fill it. And then I think I'm going to try and do it this way. Let's see if I can do it like this. And then what am I going to do? Going to mirror, right? Option, drag it, align it. Then I'm going to shift it over here. That one is okay. This one needs to come down. I'm just going to add this. And then and look, I'm going to grab this back shape because I want it to be part of that back shape and go back to my Pathfinder. And look right here. See how these two shapes are combined? So I'm going to go click, and now it's going to pull it forward when I make something new. So now I'm going to put it back again. And now let's do this to differentiate these arms. This one's a little off, but I'm not going to worry about it. So now I can take this arm. See that highlight right there? That's all that differentiates that shape, correct? So I'm going to go pull this over. I'm going to make a copy of this, pull it over, option, drag it. Oops. And then I'm going to go, look. I'm going to option drag this little thing just like that. Then I'm going to select both of them. Do you see how I put it just slightly off over the top? Now I'm going to go to a different Pathfinder thing right here, which is telling me the top shape's going to punch out the bottom shape. So I've got them both selected and I go bink. And then I go over here. And then I go. And now I created that shape. Does that make sense? Let's do, okay, so also, I screwed up. This isn't going to go behind anything. So here's what I'm going to do. Look, because I've got all this here, I don't want all that there. So I'm going to lock this. I'm going to lock all this stuff for a minute. And I'm going to go, oops. And I'm just going to put this behind the, damn it. I'm going to put this behind this black shape. I think it goes here. I'm guessing right now because I can't see what I'm doing. And now let's pull this black shape in front and the bow tie in front and the arm in front. Oops. I'm going to get the black shape in the bow tie first and pull that forward. Hang on. So now see this here? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to that. Oops. Why is it picking up all that? Hang on. Oh, I see. Hang on. I'm going to unlock all this again. I'm correcting a mistake here. I didn't create this shape correctly. So now I'm going to do that intersection one again. And now I can pull the arm and stuff in front of it. I'm not going to worry about this arm because you guys, all I would do is I would take this shape, you know, and mirror it over here, you know, and create that second arm. Does that make sense? So, and then I would just go in here. Get myself a better, I can see it better. There it is. Okay, this is that thing where it doesn't want to go forward. So if you use X, it'll flip your line. It has a glitch where it gets stuck on that for some reason. If you use the X, it's a lot better. I want to create this real quick. I'm going to go a little longer here because it's going to go under the sleeve. Probably gonna have to use my smooth tool for this. And I know I'm being a little off, but I'm just doing it for brevity. Like I'd really make sure I got this little curve right there, right? That finger's a little wide, but I'm not going to worry about it. It would have to come down or go up a little bit right there. I'd have to pull this sleeve and this highlight. And then again, mirror, pick a center point, flip it, pull this, and I know this one is off, and that's fine. And so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Why do you look shell-shocked, Josh? It's funny when people are concentrating, they look all. Questions? No questions?
So you start from the bottom and then go up?
Yeah, everything's, well, I mean, you have to place things where they need to be placed in relation to the layering. Or so again, it's just like cut paper. So this is going on top of this, going on top of that. And then like with this ear, which actually I think goes in front a little bit. I don't have to worry that much about creating this perfectly because I know the ear is going to create that little curve for the sideburn, right? It takes a while to get used to that stuff. But, oh wait, he probably has, oh no, he doesn't. Oh, and then I could do this. I could lock all this off for now, and then just go. Okay, so this is like a custom color. And if you notice, when you pick a color, it always does a fill. Have you noticed that? So what sometimes makes it a little easier if you're using a color a lot, if you go to your swatches, you can take this active color here and pull it over here. And now you got your custom color. So now I want to go, I don't want it to be a fill. I want it to be a line. And I'm just going to go. And I'm going to fatten that up. I'm going to go right here. Here's my stroke palette right here, or my control. That's probably thick enough. I want to go bink, bink, and that's it. And by the way, I think I'm going to think now he's doing some of these in vector or having somebody do them or something, because if you look at this, he's clearly mirroring all these shapes. Do you see it? Now he might be doing that in his drawing, because I do it in drawings. If I know I'm just repeating something, you know, I'll just, during my drawing, I'll just flip that over or whatever, and I'll do a trace off of it and just use the same shape again. But it's kind of weird that he has a highlight on both sides like that, where it's like, where's the lighting coming from? Which makes me start to go, has he moved over to doing vector? Because he used to do these, because like I said, in paint, really meticulously. Okay, they were really cool. But he also started to build an empire out of it. I mean, I started seeing him on bank checks, keychains, posters, prints, mugs, tiki mugs. When Disney did the revise of the Haunted Mansion, Tiki Room, I think he did a bunch of product. If you're doing that 60s mid-century tiki stuff, he's one of the guys you go to, right? You know, all the swinging, whatever. And then, you know, again, now do you guys see what I'm talking? And then I'd have to go unlock if I wanted to rework on it again. Make sure you always know that if you lock something, you got to unlock it to start working on it again. Another thing. So let's say that I get it to this. Let's get rid of this one for a second. And this one, and okay, so that highlight and this arm live together, correct? So if I go up under object, I can go group or Command G for group. And now these two things are, when I select them, I'm going to select both of them, which makes it easier for me to go. Because they'll stay together. See, now it works better. And I might add, this feels blank down there. Maybe even like a dark, I'm going to lock this. See how it wanted to grab onto that point? I don't want it to grab onto that point. So I'm going to take these things and lock it. And then maybe just put, oops. Oops, I filled it. Hang on. And it should be darker. So I'm going to go a little darker. A little fatter. Now I'm going to grab my buttons and put them on top. A little too fat. I'd play around with it. Might not need it. That's fine. Does that all make sense? And okay, so now we're talking about shape building. Does that make sense? This is shape building now. Now we're like, and you know, and then he's using a little bit of line here. And then look, my line goes over his hair. So I need to go up to his hair and go object, arrange. And here's the hotkeys. Bring to front. There it is. And then the ear needs to come back up to the front now. So that's one of the things you got to remember when you, whatever object you created last is on top. Okay. But sometimes you need to go through and go, oh, wait a minute. I got to, now this is on top of that. And that's, and then you pull that forward. And oh, wait a minute. That's got to come forward. And just, you know, make sure you go back and kind of pull things back and forth like you're supposed to, or like, you know, that you need to do. And that's the basic shape creation thing. That's the basic fundamental way that you work in this program. Those two things, the line and now this. Does that make sense? And then once we get this down, which won't take anything, we're off and running. Then I can just keep starting adding. Yeah.
Do you mind going, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you mind going over the Pathfinder thing again? Because I still have a little trouble
Well,
with
yeah.
that.
Okay. So let's do this because I usually do it this way and I just jumped right into it. So let's do this. So let's go. Let's make a shape because I think we did this last time. But I'll do it again. And let's make a blue and let's go. And let's go Ed. Let's just use a dingbat. That's kind of fun, actually. And let's use a number. So I'm going to put this right in the middle of this. Now, I don't know if it'll do it without me converting it. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go to this. Let's pull this over to make sure it doesn't get lost on the Zoom meeting. I'm going to go to my Pathfinder, and I want to do this one we talked about where it's the top punches through, right? So let's go. Boom. Okay, it's not doing it because that's a letter form, right? So what you have to do, and this is important. Right now, that's a letter. Obviously, right? So it's keeping all the live information in it so I can change it, right? But if I go up under here to type, and what that is the computer's going, I don't do Pathfinder crap with fonts, okay? So what I do is I go up here to type and I go create outlines. And now it's no longer live type, it's just a shape like that circle is. So let's get rid of this one. And let's go select both. And here's this one that is going to punch it through. So now we've created that. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's do another one. Let's go through the main ones. Let's get rid of this and let's go to another shape. So now we have two separate shapes, correct? So now I'm going to select both of these and look at the first one. It's just called Unite. It's going to do just that. So I'm going to click it and it just combined those two shapes. Now they're one shape. Does that make sense?
And it's the one that's on top that's in charge of the color.
No, this,
No?
yeah, I think it's just the last one you did or something.
Oh, okay.
It's probably the last one you did, I think. Well, let's see. Yeah, the black was the last one I did. So let's go, let's change the color. Oops. Let's go. It should go to red or whatever that is. Yep. So it's the last one you used. Okay, but does that make sense how we combined them, united them?
Mhm.
Okay, and then this next one, or the second one is the one we punched through, right? So let's do, okay, so now I want this shape in here, correct? Where they intersect. So that's this one that shows the little intersection highlighted, and now it just saves that shape. Does that make sense? So now let's take the same shape and go to this next one. Look, the interior now is hollow, correct? Can you see that? So I click that one and it just punches out the intersection. So one saves the intersection, eliminates the rest, one punches out the intersection. And then this one right here, and this is all we need to concern ourselves with for now is these four. This one right here is called divide. So let's make a more complex shape here. Let's get that, and that, and that. And then let's select all of these and let's hit this divide filter. And now if I take my wide arrow tool, I can go through here and just start eliminating whatever I want to eliminate. It just literally divided it into pieces. And those are the four you need to know. Okay. The other ones are just a different thing. And I'll get into those later. It's not a big deal. But those are those first four, the first four on top, and then the first five actually, are the ones you need to use. Yeah. Does that all make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
And what it becomes is like when I learned this, I didn't get taught it this way. Actually, they just taught it sort of in an abstract way. And I was kind of like, okay, I get that if I'm doing like geometric shapes, but nobody built an illustration out of it for me. So I could kind of understand how it worked. And then then once I kind of figured it out, I went, well, this is weird. Why would I do this? I'll just draw it. And then you realize it's like, because that's stupid to do it that way. Like, look, let's grab this. Where is it? Here it is. Because now this that we've gone through that, this should make more sense because this is how this whole car was built, right? I started off with one basic shape. Hang on. Which was, see how it's all grouped? I'm ungrouping it because all these different things are grouped in groups. I started off with this basic shape and then I just started going into it and going, and I don't have to worry about the edges. That's the beauty of it. And just doing this and then just going, selecting both and then going, let's say intersection. And then that gave me that highlight on the side of the car, right? Or like this hand, I built this hand. I built that, right? And then I go, I make a copy of it, slide it over. I can just take a square. Actually, a square won't work because I want it to go down the hand the right way. I just go bink, bink, and then this. And then I go select both, go intersection, put this back over my hand, and I make the glove. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once we get this part down, we're off and running. Okay, then we can start actually creating imagery and stuff like that. And what's fun about it, I don't know, one of the things that's fun to me about, here's one of the things I think is really cool about Illustrator. It has this way of sort of automatically stylizing everything. Does that make sense? I mean, you can control it as much as you want, but I mean, I freehanded these things off my sketches that were really loose. You saw them. They were just really simple sketches. And I sort of built the designing and all that stuff off those basic sketches, but I just kept plussing them up in Illustrator. Does that make sense? And now if you look at like this stuff we were talking about earlier, or a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, or a week ago, you can see how he took two circles and then this little shape, another circle, and he just combined them. And then the eyes built the same way. We just did the Conan eyes. And then look how he's fading off the two ends. That's what we just did in that Pokemon thing where that goes to 0 on the opacity. What I love about this kind of stuff, a little bit of a, whatever you call it, gradient there. And then look, there he is again with the sleeve, how they fade off, which is a nice little design touch to do. It softens it up. So everything's not just a hard outline, right? Look at the trees. Look at the ground. It's sort of really kind of forces you in a way to really think about your design and simplicity. You know, and you can get totally complicated if you want. But there's something about that for me anyway, when you're illustrating, it's getting very designy because I love design. Does that all make sense? Right? Yeah?
Yes.
Is everybody here an illustrator? Do I have graphic designers in here? Yeah, okay, good. Is that the only one?
I'm in graphic design.
Okay, good. This is gonna like put you light years ahead of other people. Get good at this. Okay. I just love the design elements of the way this guy uses it. It's just, and there it is again. There's that fading off again. Very simple hand shapes. Reusing the assets. We talked a little bit about that. Gradients. Look at this gradient. Look at the campfire thing. So it goes 0, then it probably goes to about 30% here, and then it goes to I don't know, 60%, and then it probably goes totally opaque, and then it fades off again. You know what I mean? Most people just do it one hard line. It's like, no, think about all those tools you can play with, right? And then look at this plant right here. He flipped it, and then he changed a couple of leaves on it. So flipped it over, and then he readjusted it and stuff. But I guarantee you those are the same elements. He just rearranged them. He flipped them, eliminated some, moved on branch, and rearranged a couple of leaves, and he's done. And then obviously the background and all that stuff is some of the stuff he's reusing that he's already created. Does that make sense? I was just thinking about this because I got to send out my children's book for because I want to do my children's book traditional. Okay, that's important to me. But if somebody came back, let's say it's Simon and Schuster, some big publishing house, and they go, we want to publish your book, and I go, what's the time frame? And they go 6 months. Then I might go, screw it, I'm going to do it digitally. I'm going to do it in Illustrator because I can do that much quicker. It would bum me out a little bit, but then I go, okay, well, I'm still going to try and make it a great book. But that's going to enable me, if I have to do them all, whatever it is, 30 pages or whatever, all hand illustrated in watercolor, plus my job, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do it that way. Does that make sense? But I go, if I do it in Illustrator, I for sure can do it in that amount of time. You know, I just got to get really solid drawings and just go in every day and bang, 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 and just bang these things out. And as long as I have a good drawing to start with, I could probably bang it out really fast. And then I'd have some time later to massage it before I hand it off to them and polish it. Like just sit on it for a couple of weeks and go back to it and go, oh, and adjust and adjust and adjust. Does that make sense? Right tool for the right job. Or you might go, I have another book that, shoot. Oh, let's look at it. I like to look at different types of economy of execution. So what I just said would be an economy of execution. It would be like, I can do that in Illustrator. Okay. Now here's a Photoshop version of that idea to me anyway. Here it is. Come on. So if you look at this book, this was done in Photoshop more than likely. What happened? Oh, there it is. It's also a very economical style. Does that make sense? If you get close up to this, what it basically is just real basic shapes. And then he takes a texture brush. Like, look at the waterfall. He put like one shape down, and then he sort of took a texture brush and went and wiped over it, and waterfall's done. Does that make sense? This is an economical painting style. Okay. Because I always want to use the right tool for the right job. And I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. That's the worst thing you can do. Very simple. Same thing, you can repeat and stuff like that. Okay, this to me would be another, I could go vector, which I can do super fast. I can do this super fast, but a little more time. I need a little more time, so on and so forth. Does that make sense? And then if I'm going to go full watercolor, I need some time. So if somebody came to you and goes, hey, we want to do this, and you kind of go, that's not gonna, don't go and promise you can do it and then do something super half-ass because you just don't have the time. Go back to them and go, I can do it, but I can do it. And you have some examples if you're working, you go, I could do it in this kind of style. Don't promise something you can't deliver, because you don't want to do that. Does that make sense? What's the matter, Kayla?
Nothing.
Okay, I think what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to give you this Conan guy, this thing, and I want you to build it. But what I think you should do first is go in and just screw around with it. Just learn what the palette, the Pathfinder palette does. Okay. And we've got quite a bit of time, because what's today? Wednesday? You have till Monday. Okay. And the other thing I'd say, I was just telling my other class this, and I don't think I said it in here, or maybe I did. Give yourself time. Like, start it tomorrow, and then if you get frustrated or whatever, go, okay, I'll come back to it in a little bit. I think I just had somebody send me an email, I don't know, last week or something, and it was the night before class, and they go, hey, where's the blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, so you're just starting your project right now, which means your project's gonna be a piece of crap. Which it was. Well, they admitted it. They go, I started too late. So that's just learning to manage your time. But it's a lot better if you kind of started earlier, and not to say that just sit down, do the whole thing, but it gives you a little bit of breathing room. And it also makes you kind of come back to it and go, oh, I can tweak that a little bit, and I can do that. And you have time to polish it a little bit. I don't expect these to be all polished or anything. It's not a project, it's an exercise. Does that make sense? And I'll give you that Conan image. I'm going to give you my screenshot, so it's not some insane, enormous image. I don't know why anybody put it. It's weird too, because it's on his website, which is weird. So maybe it's a web thing. It might be a web thing. I've never seen a resolution of 1 and it's 1,000 image or pixels. It's probably some kind of, or 1,000 inches or whatever. It's some kind of way of, that file's probably really small but really huge or something. I don't know. I don't do web design, so I don't know. Okay, is there any questions on this? Normally I'd say no questions, and I'd question you not having questions, but you guys did the last thing fine. So, but does that seem pretty simple, you guys? It's just getting used to this. Okay, so here's the main thing with this. it's just getting used to this type of shape making. Okay. Which is a little antithetical to if you're used to just sitting down and drawing or Photoshop or doing that type of work. We're going in and we have all these tools. And again, I just equate it to cut paper. You know what I mean? It just feels like cut paper to me. Like I'm just like the intersection tool in my mind. It's just like having a piece of paper, two pieces of paper, one's yellow, one's blue. And I take a die and I go bump and I just pop out the section in the middle and I pop one off and now I got the color and you know, blah, blah, blah. That's the way my brain works, right? Because I used to make these kind of illustrations with cut paper. So that's how I think of it. And I just think it is. If you look at it, it's sort of like those old, what are those things? Paper doll books, right? Where you get the little vest, you put the vest on, put the tabs, you know, you put the sleeve on. It's the same thing, okay? And then we'll just take this and just start, we'll just start adding a ton of tools onto it, okay? But all the tools we're adding on top of this, to be honest with you, you're just adding them on top of this. You know what I mean? Once you know this basic process, line and shape building, we're just adding stuff on top of it. And the only thing that'll be weird is maybe there's maybe two tools in here that to me are a little weird, but that might just be me, okay? And then the rest of them I think are actually pretty simple. Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. And I'll put this up on, I'll put this image up. And by the way, if you want to use something else that's simple like this, I don't care. Right? If you want to use like something of your own, but what I want to see is I want to see no line. You know, the way there's a line down the center of his face, you could do something like that if you want, I don't care. But I want it to be basically built from shapes and building using the shapes you're already built. Does that make sense? So I don't care if you use a different image. I'll throw this in there. And the reason I do that is because then it's apples to apples if you want to go back to the video. But I don't think it's going to take you very long to get this. Yeah? Well, like, yeah, I think you guys get it. I don't need to reiterate it. Again, I base all this stuff on how lame I was when I learned it. But okay, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to put this up there. You can use whatever you want. Don't use something that you do 2 moves on and you go, oh, that's it. No, I want to see something that's at least this complicated, because this isn't that complicated. Okay. You can use a different shag image, anything. It's a simple image, your own thing. I don't care. Okay.
Cool.
All right, you guys, I'll let you go. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks,
It's a
Mike.
good one.